In the heart of an already fractured region, where borders bleed history and every sunrise is shaded by past trauma, war has returned, but not the war of tanks and trenches. This war is different. It is faster, louder, more devastating. The war between Iran and Israel, once held at bay by diplomacy and fear of mutual destruction, has finally erupted, and the result is a wildfire across the Middle East. But to understand this war, we must understand the past that made it possible. The tension between Israel and Iran is not new. Since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, when Iran transformed from a Western allied monarchy into a theocratic Islamic republic, its relationship with Israel has deteriorated beyond repair. Iran's leaders, especially the supreme leader, have long referred to Israel as the Zionist entity, refusing to acknowledge its right to exist. Israel, in turn, has treated Iran as its most dangerous existential threat, especially as Iran's nuclear ambitions grew. Over the years, there have been cyber attacks, assassinations of nuclear scientists, sabotage of facilities, and shadow wars fought through proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and militias in Syria and Iraq. But in June 2025, the shadow war exploded into full daylight. It started with a whisper, then a flash. Israeli satellites observed movement at Fordow, Iran's most secretive underground nuclear facility. Analysts in Mossad grew alarmed as intelligence confirmed that uranium enrichment had surpassed 90% purity, crossing the line into weapons grade. At that level, a nuclear bomb is not just a dream, it's a countdown. The Israeli government warned allies and quietly moved its defense forces to readiness level red. Iran, however, made the first visible move. A wave of Iranian Shahed drone, packed with explosives, crashed into Israeli air bases near Beersheva and Palmachim. One drone penetrated deep enough to destroy a hangar filled with fighter jets. The Israeli public awoke to air raid sirens and black smoke rising from their skies. What followed was one of the most aggressive retaliations in modern military history. The Israeli Air Force launched Operation Iron Sword. Within 24 hours, over 120 sorties were flown into Iranian airspace. Israeli F-35 jets bombed Natanz, where Iran's centrifuges had been spinning for years. A cyber attack paralyzed Iran's air defense grid. Fordow's entrance was collapsed in a precision bunker-busting strike. Arak's heavy water facility was leveled. Strategic command posts in Qom, Mashhad, and Esfahan were obliterated. Iran's regime was caught off guard, but not for long. Within 3 days, a coordinated barrage of missiles flew from Iranian soil, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Hezbollah launched rockets from southern Lebanon. The Houthis in Yemen targeted Eilat. Iraqi militias struck U.S. bases. Iran itself launched Fateh 110 and Shahab-3 missiles toward Israeli cities. Tel Aviv was hit. Haifa's port went up in flames. One missile struck within 3 kilometers of Israel's nuclear facility in Dimona. Ashkelon's oil tanks ignited in a wall of fire. The death toll began to climb. Iran lost over 14,000 citizens, many civilians caught in collapsed homes, schools, and hospitals. Over 100,000 were wounded, many without access to medicine as Iran's medical system collapsed under sanctions and bombing. Cities like Shiraz and Yaz lost power entirely. Water systems failed. Tehran experienced its darkest night since the Iran-Iraq War. Israel fared little better. More than 3,500 civilians died under missile and rocket fire. Whole families vanished in the rubble. Apartment blocks burned. Schools turned into morgues. The Iron Dome, once a symbol of safety, was overwhelmed by saturation strikes. Its limitations were no longer theoretical. They were real, deadly, and devastating. Israel's emergency services buckled under the pressure. Hospitals went on triage mode. Children slept in stairwells. Emergency blood drives turned into daily rituals. But beneath the bombs, a darker anxiety haunts both sides: the nuclear question. Evidence has been mounting that Iran is on the cusp of conducting its first nuclear test. Analysts from the International Atomic Energy Agency, now barred from most Iranian sites, reported suspicious seismic activity near Dasht-e-Kavir. Chinese satellites detected radiation shielding being transported deep into Iran's nuclear mountains. Experts from MIT and Oxford confirmed a theoretical design Iran has likely already mastered, a gun-type or implosion-based bomb using highly enriched uranium. It would not be deliverable by missile yet, but the symbolic effect of a test would be earth-shattering. Iran continues to deny any such intentions. In fiery speeches, Ayatollah Khamenei has accused the West of manufacturing lies to justify aggression. State media shows videos of national unity and resistance. But leaked documents from Iranian defectors paint a terrifying picture, one of parallel command structures, of deep state nuclear research, of plans to unveil the bomb not in peace, but in war. Israel, on the other hand, has signaled clearly it will not tolerate a nuclear-armed Iran. In a televised address, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, "We will not wait for history to write our obituary. If we must strike to survive, we will strike to survive." His government has approved plans for a preemptive strike using conventional and, if necessary, cricket-tipped Jericho-3 missiles. Global reaction has been tense and divided. The United States has deployed aircraft carriers and missile defense batteries, trying to balance its support for Israel with efforts to avoid global war. Russia, which maintains defense ties with Iran, has warned of unthinkable escalation. China has remained strategically quiet, buying oil from Iran while urging calm. The United Nations is deadlocked. Emergency sessions produce only speeches, no action. The world watches, helpless. Meanwhile, the human cost spirals out of control. In Iran, over 2.3 million people are now displaced. Cities like Kermanshah and Bandar Abbas have been reduced to ghost towns. Thousands flee daily, walking across deserts with nothing but what they can carry. Aid agencies are blocked or bombed. Medicine is smuggled in via Turkey. Starvation looms in some provinces. Looting has begun in cities where government presence has disappeared. In Israel, the northern Galilee is empty. Entire towns have been evacuated. The school year has been canceled. The tech industry is frozen. Hundreds of thousands are jobless. The national trauma is growing by the hour. Even those far from missile fire live under the constant weight of dread. Dread of the sirens, dread of the phone call, dread of the next news alert announcing another funeral. And in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, violence spills over. Civilians, as always, are the first casualties and the last to be remembered. Children grow up learning to fear the sky. Aid convoys are destroyed. International journalists vanish. The region has become a theater of ruin. And the world asks, how does this end? Can a diplomatic solution still be found when trust has been reduced to ash? Can peace emerge when every act of defense is seen as offense, and every ceasefire is just a pause between tragedies? Can the world truly prevent a nuclear detonation when the winds of war are already carrying the smoke of apocalypse? If Iran tests a nuclear bomb, even in a remote desert, everything changes. The world will have entered a new era, one where deterrence may no longer work, where religious extremism meets nuclear power, where state and non-state actors alike dream of radioactive victory. This is not just about Iran and Israel anymore. This is about the future of warfare, the future of diplomacy, the future of civilization. The hour is late. The fuse is lit. The world is watching, and history is holding its breath.